Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Game. What a way to start a new season. Today's episode is for parents like me, not so much like Matt, who definitely said, look, what does an academy director actually do? And my all-time classics is I could do that job blindfolded. We wanted to answer questions that come up every weekend. Why does a club like Red Bulls show up with younger kids, sometimes take a beating, still walk away like it was a good day, and then every parent on the sideline on the other team goes, I want my kid to join that team.
And we wanted clarity on what really matters when the pathway starts to get real. What are the non-negotiables at U15 and up? What success looks like internally when the scoreboard looks ugly? And how do they decide when a kid is ready to train up, play up, or get moved on?
Our guest today is Sean McCafferty. He's the Academy Director for the New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, if you're a parent trying to make decisions in real time and have the luxury to do that, this one's going to really help.
Yep, take out your notebooks, pens, start taking notes. Let's get into it. Welcome to Chasing the Game. You've gone from the pitches of England and Ireland as a youth player, young professional, to now being in the U.S. for around 25 years. And on top of one of U.S. most prolific academies in the last 7 years, the New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, no, thanks. Really appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it. As a parent of an under-13 player myself in an elite academy at PDA, I'm on both sides of the pitches, depending on which weekend it is, which day it is. So,
my condolences, by the way.
So I enjoy it. Believe me, sometimes it's a lot easier being the dad. That's for sure.
That's great. Sean, thank you for joining us. I think one thing that stands out from those of us outside of the Red Bull ecosystem is the clarity, and specifically the style of play, the verticality, the intensity, the pressing, the ball winning, and then, of course, the player archetype that fits into that system. You've seen MLS NEXT evolve so much. You've now watched MLS NEXT Pro come onto the scene. I'd love to hear a little bit about the evolution that you've seen since you've been at Red Bull, and even going further back when you look at the competitive youth soccer system in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, all the things that you alluded to are all positive things. 25 years ago, there was maybe still a few branches of leagues and organizations, but certainly nowhere near as many as there are today. But the most importantly for me when I look at it is the level of professionalism, not only within MLS academies, but elite academies and even clubs who are potentially doing ECNL or the other leagues. The level of coaching is improved drastically, in my opinion. I think the federation deserves a lot of credit for how they kind of revamped the coach education system, and it was a lot more difficult. So the level of player, the depth of talent is significantly better, which we see in the pitch, in my opinion, every weekend. Not just the quality, obviously, that we have in this region. We're very fortunate, but I think you look at the investment that's going into the game is significantly more. And to your first part in regard to Red Bull, I appreciate you. It's you talk about this clarity and how we play and how we look, but I think one of the exciting things as well is how we're evolving and how we've evolved a lot. If you have the pleasure of watching our second team this year under Michael Bradley and the football they played and how dominant they were and the goals we scored, and it's kind of a glimpse into where we're going. I think we at the academy we've been a bit like that as well. I think we're so much better with the ball than maybe people give us credit for, but I think that's changing the narrative, which is honestly these types of conversations can do.
Before we get into the depth of our conversation, I'd love to, for the parents and our listeners who don't quite understand what exactly an academy director is for a professional academy like Red Bull, New York Red Bull, can you give us a glimpse into your world? How do you spend your time? What does your staff look like? And everything else that comes in between.
Yeah, so I've come from a coaching background, but as many coaches have done in the elite academy level, you have to coach and then you be a director as well. You wear many hats. Certainly when you move to a club the stature of New York Red Bulls, if you kind of have to make a decision, and my decision was become an academy director and no longer coach teams. And it's genuinely been the best decision I've ever made because you get to, in my opinion, impact a lot more. You're working with the heads of departments, you're working with the coaches on various things such as, playing method, the coaching methodology, the playing style, different players, discussions on who needs to move up, who needs to be Could be a bio band, that there's just so much that goes on. But I've really learned my job, and what makes my job certainly a lot easier day to day is bringing in the best people. It's all about the people. And again, the best coaches with the best mentality, people who have no egos, who are humble, who are people who have growth mindset and want to learn and are open to different ways of teaching, different ways of developing players. And so we've been fortunate. And certainly recently, just bigger and even more investment into subject matter experts. Our sports performance coach, who oversees the medical sports performance side of our academy, came from Nashville's first team. So we're bringing in some more subject matter experts to provide the best kind of resources for our players to bring, again, more of them and higher level through into our professional ranks. So my job is to make sure that bringing the right people in for the positions, certainly supporting, guiding them, checking in and challenging them is also critical but with positive intent. And the more people that I can have in that are doing their jobs to a higher level, genuinely, my job becomes the easiest in the academy. But that's what I've learned.
I mean, we're all parents here. So when you start looking for schools for your kids, one of the things you look at is the principal. And in a youth academy, and I know this is something that's actually has been opaque to me. It doesn't matter who the director of a certain football club is at the youth level. Is there a kind of a personality where you go, okay, this is a director you've heard from other parents that is the right personality, or it's really the academies are bigger than the directors in that age?
It's probably different club by club. I know academy directors that maybe came from the scouting profession. There's one directors that came from, could be in analytics, and again, my background's coaching, but it's definitely not a one shoe fits all. It depends what you want from a club. I genuinely think, from our standpoint, we like to think and we try and have it where there's no hierarchy. Like, again, everybody's job is just as important as certainly as mine. Everybody's voice needs to be heard as well, because you get nowhere with dictatorship. You get nowhere with somebody thinking that their way is the best way. Again, I don't think for 1 minute that I have all the answers. I don't. And so my job, again, is to maybe create a bit of a culture where people are valued and people are heard. And again, don't get me wrong, it's when there's certain things we want to get done, then yeah, the buck will stop with me, and I have to be able to make that decision as well. But I just find that a more enjoyable environment to come into. I think everybody feels relaxed. Nobody feels threatened, because there's clarity on our purpose, and our purpose is really, really, really simple, is to develop these young players and young men into the best versions of themselves, whether that be players that go on to play in our first team, such as Tyler Adams, and go to Europe, or the young Daniel Edelman, who didn't come to us until he's 17, and then these other young players coming through, Julian Hall, or is it the players that go to college and be their stars in a Division 3, Division 2, Division 1? It's whatever the best version of themselves is, then it's our responsibility and our obligation to get them there. But we all have the same job. So the athletic trainer's job is important to keep them healthy. That job is as important as me as a director. So everybody's valuable.
So let's say, like Matt alluded to, the philosophy and the idea behind Red Bulls is almost chiseled in stone, and maybe it is changing. But you spent time at the Barca Academy in Arizona, for example. So that DNA of that club is very different than the DNA of Red Bulls, as far as just layman's term, looking from the outside in. So you as a person, Sean, what is your effect in both clubs? Does it matter that there's a Sean, or can two directors with two different philosophies basically give the same results in a certain team?
I think what's similar in regards to both clubs is they both have a clear identity. So it's whether it's me as a director or somebody else, it's honestly irrelevant. I'm not coming in thinking I'm going to change Barca's methodology or Red Bulls. But my job is certainly to make sure that the everyday environment, we're adhering to those standards, and what our end goal is, that it's being worked towards that.
One of the things that has always fascinated me about a academy director at a professional club like Red Bull is that you start at the pre-academy level, you work your way all the way up. Now there's MLS Next Pro, you have the first team. How do you think about that as far as your overall responsibility? Like, how much of your time are you spending now focused on the U15s and 16s getting to MLS Next Pro, if that's their path, or getting to the first team and then working with the first team staff as far as what that looks like for the development of the players?
Yeah, it's a great question. And in my mind, I was very fortunate when I took the position because our youth programs was the best in class in North America and still is. That was the best part about the academy, I'll be honest. The foundation level is just so strong with the pre-academy teams, the number of teams, again, it was such a good place already. It was up to us to honestly raise the standards of the academy and what we were doing. More subject matter experts, again, bringing the right types of players to evolve, and certainly, I would say a lot more footballers to be able to kind of bring to life the philosophy we want to evolve to. But that pyramid and that alignment is critical. And one of the best things about certainly the academy, second team, first team, we're all in the same building. We're all in the same training facility. So there's a great connection. We have weekly meetings with our sporting director, Julian de Guzman, to go through everything with the academy. We have bi-weekly meetings with first team staff, leadership, coaches to talk about the next players. So there's platforms and things in place to make sure we're talking about the right things and putting our players in front of them. And so the alignment is there and it's great. Obviously, as you both know, Red Bull is a club globally that wants to develop young players and push young players through. We use it all the time, is you're good enough, you're old enough, which is, again, it's not an opinion. Just look at the evidence, right? It started, even with Tyler, Matt Miazga, going way back till recently with Julian Hall, Adi Mehmeti making his debut at 15, captain in the second team to the championship at 16. And so all these young players that are coming through, it's just part of our identity and who we are. And so as an academy director and that connection, and again, the daily conversations with the staff, second team, first team, and it matters. It just matters. And so that alignment for us has been critical in being able to push these players through somewhat, I say, seamlessly, certainly over the last few years. So not perfect, and we're working on improving some things, but it's been, from the first day I came in to now, again, significant improvement in that way. And then we've hired staff. You talk about the job of director, you can't be everywhere at once. So the 15s and 16s and 18 schedule is identical. So that's where I go. That's why I prioritize my time, simply because they're the ones that are closest to the second team and first team. But then we brought in a subject matter expert who's really good at those younger age groups to do exactly the same as I'm doing with the older ones. And then as we talked about, the youth programs, the 10s, 11s, 12s have now come under our umbrella. And so we've never been as aligned. And again, we're not perfect, and we're things to improve on, but we're a lot closer to what I would call a top European standard than we've ever been.
You touched on two things that I want to address. One is you said the word philosophy and you said the word best. So coming on the parent point of view, let's say their son is good enough to go to a team like Red Bulls or NYCFC where they go, okay, I'll choose it by the philosophy of the club, or is the concept is what you said, no, let's look at the best club where the numbers are the best. What would you advise parents? Is it about philosophy? Is it about best? Or is it about getting the opportunity when it comes to you?
Listen, it's a tough one, and I'm going to answer it with, and it's not a politically correct answer, it's just what I believe. It's what is the best fit for your son? I mean, again, and I look at this, or your daughter. When I go watch my son play, I don't care what level he's playing at. I just want to watch him play. So the most important thing for me and my son is that he's somewhere where he plays. And he doesn't have to play every minute, but he has to have fair playing time because I just want to watch him play. And that's genuinely all I want. If he's on a better team and not playing, is he getting better? For me, no. So if he needs to come and play rec, but then he goes and plays rec, and I'll watch him and I'll enjoy him just as much. Whether, you know what I mean? So I think sometimes we and I deal with this. I was again a director at FC Delco for a long. Sometimes they just want to say they're on a team, right? And it's the same with going to a certain college. I'm at, I don't know, let's pretend UNC. You haven't played in 2 years. So why not go somewhere where you're going to play? Or if you're okay with that and understanding it, but that's the right fit for you. So it's whatever's the right fit. The most important is that they train more than they play, right? And I'd maybe like to see a better balance in that with the younger age groups. But that everyday training environment, what's he being learning? Does he enjoy it? Is he getting better? Is he being challenged? So, I think that's so important when finding the right spot. And for anybody that's, whether it's us or NYCFC or depending where you live, but they have choices and the families have to, what's the best for them? And it might be what certain age group, or it might be the way teams play. But the most important thing and the best advice I would give any parent is, again, is if you're going to go, right, you know how hard it is, because everybody thinks they're, not everybody, some people, your kid's going to be a pro. Do you know how hard it is to become a professional at anything? Yeah. Right? It's so difficult. So the likelihood is really unlikely. So just put them in the place where they're happy. They're the happiest. You talked about it earlier. You know, is it a 2-minute drive versus an hour-and-a-half drive? Yeah, probably go a 2-minute drive. It's a good situation or it's similar. And that's the reality of it. But as they get a little bit older and some of these players are looking at they might be professional, then sometimes the commitment or the drive might be worth it because that's a better environment and that's a better fit and gives their son a better chance. But it really is a case by case.
It's a great answer. And as a dad going through this, I've succumbed to some of the pressure, right? Which is, well, this is a better club, or that's a better club, or this is a better coach, or this is a better director, or whatever it may be. And I'd like to think I'm not alone, right? Because ultimately we all want what's best for our kids. And sometimes what's best for our kids isn't what we necessarily think. And those are tough lessons to learn, which I think we're all going through it in real time. And it could be the best thing in one moment, but not the best thing a month later. And I think that in the world we live in today, where we have a microscope into what everybody else is doing in their perfect worlds, right? It adds to the pressure of, oh, if my son's not here by U13 or U14, he's never going to be there by U17. We all know that's not true. We all know there's so much development that happens physically, emotionally, mentally, all of it, right? In that time. But I do think it's been the toughest thing for me to balance. And I think it's been very, very difficult for a lot of the parents and families that we stay pretty close with.
One of our coaches said it, and it's like, we have to be experts in patience, and we have to understand we're really lucky that we can do some things where it's, for certain positions, a goalkeeper is, let's do some measurements. Are they ever going to be tall enough to be a goalkeeper? That's something we'll look at. And if somebody's going to be my height, we're wasting time, and this player should go play somewhere else, be a good youth goalkeeper, but they're not for us. A center back maybe the same, but everybody else is a bit different. So you get some educated guesses of what you can do in development, but normally the best 12, 13, 14-year-old is not the best 17, 18-year-old. We just so many examples of it. They just, until about under 16, in our opinion, we really genuinely can't tell because, and even then, it's such a difficult task because of different variables and, life moments and things like that. But we just have to give these players a chance, and we have to be experts in patience to let them develop, let them go through that really, really awkward stage as well when about 14 or 15 and they're like newborn deers and new bodies and things of that nature. So I just think also maybe as parents, we're just probably expecting too much of these young players. And we always use again, people get paid millions of dollars to go out and be inconsistent every week. So why do we think our son's going to be any different?
That's so true. I'm curious the philosophy of Red Bull, the origins as well, and what's led to that philosophy. When you're looking for players, and let's talk about at the U15 level, maybe not at the U12 level, because to your point, so much changes between U12 and U15. What are the non-negotiables for a player to come in, to be scouted, to come into Red Bull, where ultimately you think they're going to be successful?
We look for players who are brilliant at the basics. And what I mean by that is, are they, do they move well? Are their soft feet, their ability to play quickly when it's needed to play quickly, their ability to understand the game of when to play, to stay on the ball and dribble, to maybe, to slow the game down. So we're looking for those players who are showing signs of, can they understand football at the next level and not youth football, right? Where it's just, 7 step overs, YouTube, and that's not football, right? So we're looking at those are the 0.01%. So, and those players that show an ability to adapt quickly. So they come in on trial, and we have a comprehensive process of scouting them for X amount of games, seeing video, talking to their clubs, making sure that it's the right time. And eventually, if we bring them in, we've made it more difficult to bring players in because we also want to protect our environment. Of that everyday training environment was our biggest controllable. So it is more difficult these days to get a trial, but we like to think then the ones that do come in definitely have something, right? That you can call it football intelligence, you call it they're technicians, and would you like to have it all? Yes, but they're not going to have it all. And then genuinely that engagement, that level of focus and engagement from start to finish, so they have that drive and that it's almost that look on their face where you can see he's got the right mentality, like he's different. And so those players stand out like a sore thumb to us in the same way where they switch off or they look in their eyes and they look, they stand out like a sore thumb as well. So nothing crazy. And again, like U15, we're still looking for what do they do that's different, exceptional, that maybe other players their same age don't do. So it could be something that's a technique. It could be something that's just dominant and aerial. Like centre back who just wins everything and does simple things. Great. It could be somebody who's a next level change of pace. But 9 times out of 10 are they good decision makers? Do they make the good decisions at the right times? And that can be varied with what that decision is. But it just shows a higher level of understanding of football. And we think that translates to the next level. Like just football intelligence, call it. There's different words for it, but like they'll just work, they'll kick, they'll just do the dirty work, because I've never met a player who's just gotten to become a professional with talent alone. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough.
Hey, Sean, can you coach decision-making, or is decision-making something that a player is either born with or not born with? And if you are coaching it, how?
My answer is yes. So you can teach anything. You can teach people to get better at it. Some people will be better than others and will pick certain things up more, maybe more quickly, but it all comes from also, are they watching the game a lot, right? We're not teaching that, but are they watching? I'm again a Liverpool fan. I grew up watching Peter Beardsley, John Barnes. So I just mimicked what they did. We didn't have coaches. My dad and another dad, we didn't have professional coaches in growing up. So I just mimicked what those players did. So that's learning the game, and that's, you call it, you learn because you watch it and you try and replicate it, and you're maybe not perfect, but you get better. And then our training methodology and everybody's, that has to be where it's brought out. So, the closer it is to the game will help decision making. The further it is away from the game has nothing to do with decision making, has nothing to do with technical development, in our opinion. As many, and we're evolving here and we're trying to get better in this area as well, but every activity is bringing as close to the game as possible, because you need opponents for decision making. You need real spaces and pressure for decision making. And of course, then that's just one part. Then how do you execute? Does it need one touch? Does it need 2 touches? Mm-hmm. Whatever that requires. And then the more they do it and the more they learn from it, and there's less mistakes. You start to limit and that's just them getting better, because they've seen the picture 10,000 times. So now
repetition.
People then say it becomes instinct.
Yeah.
Right? Then it becomes a bit more because they're doing that. And again, we're a big believers and you need opponents for that versus in isolation. Because there's no decision making when there's no opponents. There's no technique when there's no opponents. It's easy.
Yeah. I think this might be the first year, but I could be wrong, where the MLS professional academies are starting at U15 or playing up a year. Is that right? Against the non-MLS, so against the elite academies, not against the professional academies.
Correct. Correct.
I'm curious.
It's fantastic. Yeah. It's been unbelievable. Fantastic initiative. So obviously the 18s or the 19s, most MLS clubs are going to be playing up, because the better ones are on the second team or even on the first team in our case, right? I think we're going to Fest tomorrow with the 18s, and there's probably 10 players that could come that are not, right? So the 18s, That's normal. That was set up that way anyway. But now our 16s, when they play elite academies, will play against their 17s. And when our 15s will play elite academies, they'll play against their 16s. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. And it's the way it should be. The games have been just so much better, such a struggle for our players. For most of them, that's this way around the world. So we should be. But even then, there's some really, in our region, as you know, there's some really, really good clubs we play age appropriate. They're as good as us, and they can beat us sometimes. And we're always playing younger players up. And so, great, fantastic. I mean, that's what we want. We don't we go out every week and win 5-0 against every team. Yeah. Nobody's developing. It's a waste of time. It's just. And so, again, I would love to even see the 14s next year. Maybe they're playing some 15s, and just the players should be almost winning a third, drawing a third, and losing a third. Just to face it, every type of emotion, adversity, success, because for me, that's development. Yeah. We call it false progress. If you're winning all the time, it's just false progress. You think you're better than you are, and so we end up doing we invest a lot of money in going international, to Brazil, to Europe, to show them that there's, the Northeast is a very talented area, but it's still a goldfish bowl in compared to world football.
Yeah, sure.
This is what you said is just so crystal clear, but is this something that's explained to parents or to the kids who are in the, I'm talking about the older kids, but in the academy, or sometimes have a hard time not understanding why Red Bull shows up with 4 younger players or 6 younger players on our roster, going home losing 5-0, but in a way is that philosophy explained to your teammates, and is that something that you even need to explain to anybody?
I don't. We do an orientation where we try and set, I guess, expectations. This is what it's going to be. This is what it's not going to be. We really set it with the families early on. We take them to the stadium and we say, listen, your son's not going to be great every week. Your son's not going to play every week, so don't expect he's going to play every week. This is a really challenging environment. Getting here is difficult. Staying here is even more difficult. So embrace the difficulty. Don't complain about it. Don't moan about it. Don't, we always have a thing, don't play the victim. The victim is blaming every single thing. Everybody's at fault. Everything, the weather, everything except, well, it's just going through a tough time. Just embrace it. No problem. We'll get through it. And so we try and, again, not be victims. We try and tell them that we have a little bit of a warrior mentality, is embrace everything. The good times are easy, right? Again, but for us, and certainly me, I don't look at our teams. I look at the players. My job is to bring players through, and that's the coach's job as well, but they're obviously coaching a team. But who are the players that really, stand out when the times are tough? They're the ones normally who make it. When you talk about what's the difference, their mentality and who can embrace the tough times, and who rolls their sleeves up and who shrinks and who goes into a shell, that they're only interested when things are going well. It's a big telltale sign for me of who's going to progress. So those games against those, we call them adversity games. We used to have to do them before they made this change. We wanted them to get kicked around, stomped. We wanted them to be run past. We wanted them to get beat, because that's who you find out who the real players are. That's who you find out who can adapt and who can survive. And normally the top ones, they survive.
And it drives the elite clubs who their kids have all geared up to play, whether it's 2011s or 12s, and they show up and it's Red Bull's 2013 team. It drives them out of their mind.
Message board, WhatsApp message board. How many 2013s they had on that team?
But I understand. I mean, but your job, as you said, is to develop players, and it's to think about the players in the Red Bull program. It's not necessarily, you can't always be thinking about the affiliate teams or the other clubs, right? Just the way it works.
And again, we're really, there's certain teams that will play age appropriate, because again, like I said before, they're just really, really good. Some age groups have more depth than others. And I'll give you an example. Our 2012s and Cedar Stars 3-3, and they beat us 4-0. And we had a number of players playing up, but it doesn't matter. But that's it. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's again, we don't want an environment where we're going around thumping everybody. I mean, what good does that do? These players need to experience the adversity part. They need to experience, and again, if the elite academy comes and beats an MLS team, and which they will, and across the country it happens all the time, fantastic. That means we're doing a really good job at the elite academies as well.
Yeah.
And so we have to celebrate that. It's not just the MLS academies. They're investing a lot of money in full-time directors, full-time coaches, and they have good facilities. So again, it's, we're certainly not sitting and thinking we got all the answers, and we work really closely with the elite academies, because they develop some top players. Daniel Edelman did not come to us until he was 17 from PDA. Yeah, so to say Red Bulls developed Daniel Edelman would be a lie. It was PDA. We just were a platform to take the next step, right? And we gave him the second team, and then Daniel was the one, obviously, that kicked on. So, and there's other players. I think Audrey's been with us since he was 8, and he'll play for the first team, and Tyler is the same way. And so there's various players of various journeys. And one of the things we say at the orientation, and I think it's one of them, probably the one I'm redundant with the most, is don't compare your son's journey with anybody else's, because that's the biggest, I would say, pitfall that families get into is, well, he gets it. It doesn't matter. This is uncontrollable. Just focus on your son and what's best for your son. And is he happy? Great. Yes. Is he playing enough minutes? Great. Yes. Right? Because every time it's not great, we teach them the worst lesson and we'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, it's not easier somewhere else. Right? It's the same. It's challenging. So we just don't compare. Everybody's journey is completely different.
In relations to that, like, it's about measuring success, right? So when you look internally within your pyramid, do you have different measurements of success within every year as far as goals you have to reach? Because I look at it on the parent side, let's say if I'm already at the MLS NEXT level or pro level, do I immediately just go, okay, every year is about this pro college path? If not, it's a complete bust, or are there kind of benchmarks for that?
We're very fortunate in our club where, we've never had to put, this is this year's been great and this year's been poor. You know what I mean? It's, for us, is is the first team full of academy players, a certain percentage? It's always been yes. So we've been lucky in that regard. The second team the same way. And again, that's due to the great market we have, the great player pool we have in this area. We have, everybody's from somewhere else. We have every type of player you want, we have them. And it's fantastic. We're really fortunate and lucky. So I often say players will become pros here regardless of who's in charge and who's running things. But I think with the more professional people and the subject matter experts, we can bring through more and higher level. That's the goal, right? And so there's players here, and players will come through everywhere just because they're good players. But can we bring through more of them, and can we bring higher level ones that can, again, go and play in the top leagues in Europe and stay there and help the national team as well? And so we've seen that already in the growth in that. So I think it's only going one direction, which is fantastic. And then that's one level. And then below that, like the USL Championship League has grown, right, and gotten stronger, MLS NEXT Pro. So it's just more opportunities for players to become professional players and continue playing as long as they can. And so it's only going one direction, which is really exciting.
How is your mindset or framework changed a little bit with MLS NEXT Pro? When you think of a U15 or U16, let's call it a U16 player, and they're approaching, continuing on through the academy, or they're moving into NEXT Pro and then potentially to the first team. Obviously, the player has more options and you have more options, but what does the thought process look like around some of that?
Yeah, so we always say if somebody's the best player in an age group, then they're in the wrong place, right? So we need to keep pushing them up and dipping them into the 18s. Okay, if you're the best players in the 8. So we kind of have a home-based training. So we have a lot of players who'll train with the second team and then play with the 18s. We'll have players who'll train with the first team and then play with the second team. So most importantly is they need to play. The top players need to play every week as much as we can, 90 minutes every week. But then can we stretch them and can we challenge them every day in training? So if that's what it needs to be, our top 15 and 16-year-olds, the best ones are training with the second team. That's just how it is, and we push them, and it's great because we're right there, and some of them are push and pull. Some of them are go and stay, that they adapt quickly, and that's where they are. And then some of them go and contribute. Again, I can talk to, the goalkeeper was an 08, left back was an 08, the starting midfielder was an 09, again 08. So it was like the average age was 19 of the second team. So it's a lot of young players, and then players sprinkled in who have a bit more experience, like Andy Rojas, Mosquera, who are a little bit older. I say older, 2005 maybe, but so it's just such a we're right. I'm underpants older than that. But genuinely, it's. I forget you did a study one time and they asked, let's pretend there was 1,000 pros. What was the biggest reason that they felt that they made it to the professional level? And it was really something ridiculous. Like 90% said training and playing with older players. So again, when you talk about putting best with best and putting the players in environments where they have to adapt. We have a young player who's a ball carrier, and then as soon as you put him up there, you can't get away. So now he has to become a 1-touch, 2-touch player and add more tools to the toolbox. And so they just have to understand what the next level of football looks like and what it feels like. Because good youth players don't always translate to good professional players. We've seen that numerous times. And so the ones that really adapt and figure it out quickly and are able to stay there and train there more and then get minutes, again, that's the ones that are exciting to see. And it's great because then once they leave the 18s or the 16s, then that means other players are getting pushed up to backfill. And it's that kind of conveyor belt, I would say, look about it. And if somebody signs a first team contract, great. Who's the next one up? Who's the next one up? So that's the mentality. And again, luckily we're the club that gives young players opportunities always.
Well, and you have the benefit of being able to have a kid go train at Salzburg for a week or train at
Leipzig. We just had 3 players at Leipzig at the end of the season. So we had 2009, Adri Mehmeti trained with the first team at Leipzig during the international break, which is invaluable. It's
fantastic.
This is where we're fortunate. And then Julian Hall was there, Aidan Stokes, the goalkeeper. They came back from the World Cup with the 17s and went directly there. We have a player in Bragantino in Brazil, Matthew dos Santos, 08 left back. And so this is the power of Red Bull that differentiates us from almost everybody else. And we use it to the maximum. When I tell you that, we use it as much as we take teams over there. We take some of our top prospects over there. It's just such a close connection with the clubs. We play in every August we go to Salzburg with the 16s for a tournament every August. Then in February, we go to Brazil. And so we just so many times where all the technical leadership are there, the players are there, and you're just talking football, best practices, what we do, seeing the players. And so we're just really lucky that Red Bull has this really, again, a lot of clubs, clubs have this MCO approach, but we feel that we're so connected, and we feel that's just an advantage for us.
Can you spot a moment when you go, okay, that player, forget the biology for a second, but that player has it, or that player, can a parent recognize it? Is it something that, how does that kind of go about? Is there a moment to go, okay, there's a trait in this kid that gives him a chance to step it up a little bit versus the pool?
Sean, Laurent has convinced himself that he's a parent who can identify it.
Sure.
Can you? I'm going to leave it to you to dispel the myth.
It's established. I can't run a camera. I cannot run a mic. I can't do any of those things. Give me one thing I can do.
So I think normally it's a certain moment where you think that's different. And it's normally a younger player moment, right, where you think that's so different. That's so mature what he did. Getting back to decision making and football intelligence, when we see young players who are scanners, proper scanners, not just moving their head, but actually checking, because then they're able to solve the problem in different ways. So they know when it has to be one touch. They know where they have to turn certain direction versus the other one. They know when they can roll somebody. They know, because they've taken the pictures before. Players who do what we call the critical scan, whereas the picture they've taken, they know that it's going to change. So as that ball's moving and it's almost there, they have to retake the picture to make sure something changes. And then you still have to have the technique to execute, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But when I see players like that, and it's probably it's not even my unconscious bias, it's my bias, and midfielders, because I just love, when I look at players like that, I think, oh, they've got something. They can solve the problem in various ways, and again, be brilliant at the basic ways of doing it. Because there's players who are dribblers who stand out, who can be 1v1 and, but do they always cut inside? Well, a bit predictable, you know what I mean? So that can he go outside? But I just think the players who just have a good feel for the game, genuinely, I love players who pass the ball well. And I don't mean just hard, like the correct way. And they seem to have the timing of it. So those are the moments where I think, and we've got loads of them in the club, honestly, we've got loads of them in the club. The physical bit is what I look at last. The physical bit, and I know Red Bull was like, and maybe that wasn't the past, was a priority. And it's still, don't get me wrong, you still want players who are quick and who get endurance, but if they haven't got the brain, then it doesn't matter. It genuinely doesn't matter. They have to understand when to, how to use it, when to run, and those types of things. So again, as we evolve, we need players who do the work, have intensity, of course, but can they make the decision consistently? Right? The players who value the ball. And I always say, I tell my son this, I say, it's very easy to spot the good players and the bad players. The good players are the ones who don't give the ball away much, and the bad players are the ones who give the ball away all the time.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, and I know it seems really basic and simple and like, oh, well, they got to make mistakes. But they keep making mistakes all the time and the same mistakes. They're just not good. They're just not good players.
Right.
And that's okay. You play at a different level, and that's okay as well. But that's what, at our level, that's what we look at. And again, the ball has to be your best friend, so treat it that way.
Okay, so I didn't do a good job scouting. I get it. I already saw 5 mistakes I made in the past. Okay, no big deal. This is I'm not pretending to teach. I'm here to learn.
By the way, I'm not saying I'm right. This is what we think. I never said I was correct here, by the way, but it's what we believe, and it's, again, I guess one of the things of getting old is you learn through experience, and you learn through mistakes, and you learn maybe just more case studies of who have come through and who have made it, and what they were like and why. And so it is one of the benefits of having, I used to say gray hair, now it's no hair.
Well, while there are some world-class players, or getting to be world-class players, how close are we to a place where we're consistently producing world-class players who are playing at, I just heard this a few weeks ago, that there are A-level professional academies, B-level professional clubs, B-level professional clubs, C-level professional clubs, and down, I think it was to D or E, where the United States is producing players who are playing at A and B-level professional clubs.
Yeah, I think people have talked about this a lot, right? This generation, because they're playing at some of the biggest clubs, right? I mean, for me, I think Christian Pulisic is world class. He's scoring goals for one of the best clubs in the world in a tough league, and so I think he's genuinely world class. And other players are playing at again, Champions League football. If you're playing Champions League football, you're not A, because I think people throw around world class maybe too much, but if you're consistently producing goals and things, then you are. I mean, again, for me, Christian is, but there's some exciting young players coming through, and again, the youth national teams and what we see, but there's been players in the past like that, right? With Landon Donovan, certainly, and certain players that have done well, but I think because, again, only 25 years ago, and I mean this, there was no professionalism. There really wasn't. Yeah. Even the professional clubs weren't professional, at least from an academy standpoint. There wasn't. I remember I lived in an hour away from Philly, so even to watch a Premier League game, I think we had to get a train into Philly to find an Irish bar to watch a game. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's only 25 years ago, and I think maybe it is the world we live in, where everybody wants instant gratification. They want it now. Like, it has to be because guess what? We're getting better and we're evolving. So's the other countries. Yeah. So they're doing things differently and they're ripping it up. Germany just ripped up what they were doing in youth development and trying something different. And so I just think we have to be really, honestly, celebrate how far we've come. I think obviously we got Pochettino now and everybody was 5-6 games ago calling for him to be.
I know, crazy.
Yeah, me too.
Right, and now he's a genius, and now he's right. So and so, sports is really fickle, and people have just no patience and short memories, and so I just think we have to be really patient with these young players. There's a lot of exciting young players that, again, and it's a social media thing. We just hype them up, and we haven't learned from the Freddie Adu thing, and we just hype our players up far too much over here. Yeah, far more than anybody, honestly. And I just don't see the same thing happening in maybe in some of the European countries where they're allowed to develop and come through. And even there's a lad, the 17-year-old that came through for Bayern, who scored a few goals. I'd never heard of him. And then all of a sudden he scored 4 or 5 goals for Bayern. He goes, oh yeah, he's a top young player, but he wasn't hyped up as the next best thing, and he's the savior and blah blah blah. So I think sometimes we're our own worst critics when we don't need to be, and we're our own worst. Everything's so great or so bad when we just need to stay in the middle and be calm and take our time.
We had Ben Olsen here, and he was talking about kind of him starting and the start of the league, and he told this wonderful story about playing at kind of empty stadiums, and about it's a little bit about what you're saying about how much development and things have progressed so much. But if you actually look at the numbers of Americans are playing abroad at high level, numbers have not increased in that sense. And he said something that you said, which is very interesting, is that we're not the only ones developing. The outside world is developing as well. Is Europe, the European kind of hub, teaching you guys? Is that kind of the leading front for the DNA of Red Bulls, or is there an American Red Bulls identity?
Yeah, it's interesting. Ben, he's a Galco alumni as well, so big shout out to Ben.
Yes,
Olsen. One of the factors also, before I answer your question, is how much stronger our leagues become here. And so the young players, they're here, and I look at Berhalter playing in Vancouver, for an example. There's a top young midfielder. I think Jordan Morris, who went to Middlesbrough. So there's good players here and can stay here, and so that's not a bad thing, and can go over. We had John Polkin leave when he was 21, 22. I think he played over 100 games. Yeah. And so to play over 100 games in MLS to prepare you for Europe, I think maybe that's where sometimes they want to go too early. I want to go to Europe. You have no idea how difficult it is to go and stay in Europe. Yeah. You have no idea. Like, you have to be better than everybody else. It's ridiculously challenging. You're a long way from home, and it's just the idea, and they love the idea, these young players. And then it's vastly different when you get there, because again, there's players who are as good, if not better than you in your position when you go there. And how do you handle that? And so I think there's a lot of players, I would say, maybe it's not in numbers, but I think there's players playing at a higher level, playing week in, week out at a higher level than it's been in the past. I would say that. And then when you talk about Red Bull New York versus the Red Bull ecosystem, I think, listen, we have some non-negotiables, right? We are Red Bull. We will never not want to press and have high energy. We're an energy drink, and that's who we are. I always laugh about it, say, listen, we're not the FC Xanax. We're not trying to pass people to death here. We're not trying to boat, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, we evolve and we have to be better. And so, but we're so close with the other teams, but they're intelligent enough to maybe what works in New York doesn't work in Sao Paulo or Bragantino. That's maybe different than Leipzig. So there's nuances that can be different, and there's non-negotiables that we want to see. And like I said, it's evolving and changing with Klopp having come on board, and obviously Mario Gomez there, and now Schultz as well, who's was Thomas Tuchel's assistant. So you have these great minds and these people who have experienced football at a level that we could only dream of. And we're getting the benefit of that, and how we're looking at players and how we're implementing coaching methodologies. And so it's exciting, and it's changing, because the football for me is still entertainment. We go there to any sporting event to be entertained. The result is great. You want to win, of course, don't get me wrong, but you want to be entertained, and that's goal scoring opportunities. That's in around the box, and that's, the more of them there are, the more entertaining the game is. That's just our belief on it, and that's our, you know what I mean? If there's 70 passes and you haven't created a chance, we just feel that's boring football, right?
Yeah.
That's, and again, doesn't make us right. It doesn't make us right. That's just our philosophy on it. But if you can do it in 1-2 passes, brilliant. If it requires 10, 12, brilliant. It requires 70, it's not us.
Not very efficient.
Some will argue.
When you look across the Red Bull portfolio and take the U15 teams in Sao Paulo, in Leipzig, and then take New York, how similar are the player profiles? How similar is the level? Are you assessing players against just players in New York? Are you looking at players and how they're comparing in Europe and in Sao Paulo also?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's something it's again really it's much improved. The tournaments have been, I alluded to it earlier, the tournaments have been brilliant. So we're under 16s, and I think under 16s a better age to compare.
Okay.
A little bit through their growth spurt. They're a little bit older. It's a little bit more like the player they may be going to be. So we go to every August in Salzburg, and this past August our team got to the final and we lost to Bragantino. But clubs are there like Liverpool, Benfica, Inter Milan, and so our teams can compete to a certain point with all these teams. Profiles maybe are different, even certainly some style of play in regards to, transition. Salzburg are unbelievable in transition. They're just so efficient in how they play. Whereas Leipzig maybe a bit more possession orientated ball, but they're still, and then what's funny is the last 3 years, the Red Bull Bragantino, they just come and win it. They've won it the last 3 years. They beat us in the final, and they have a competitiveness and a desire and a hunger and just an unwillingness to lose. Like that's just something different than I've ever seen. And we've kind of seen it in some of the tournaments where Flamengo and Palmeiras will come to the Generation Adidas Cup, and they're just different. Like the way the Brazilian players they come from, a lot of them have come from really tough situations. So they have a hunger that our players, not all of them, but most of them stepping out of cyber trucks and Range Rovers just can't understand. You know what I mean? And there's, that's just the reality of it. That's just the reality of it. And they just will do spit, grab you, do whatever it takes. It's just different. And our players need to be exposed to that.
Yeah.
That's what our players need to be exposed to.
Can you teach that?
You can teach, again, I think you can teach players to, again, compete. Your training environment is critical, right? Competition, every activity matters. You can teach it, absolutely. I mean, again, not every player in the world comes from tough conditions. Players come from, good supportive families, and that's not a deterrent, don't get me wrong. But we take our players to these tournaments, to answer your question, is to see something different that they never see. And we go to Brazil for that. We go to different tournaments to that, where it's just different, and it's a different culture, a different experience, different food. So all of these experiences are invaluable for our players. And if they get to see it, does it spark something in one or two players that they take it to another level? Does it spark something in our coaches where they can take something from it, and how do they approach games, and how can they, because these teams come to win the tournament. They don't come to compete in the tournament. They don't come to participate in the tournament. They come to win the tournament. And that's developing a winning mentality. And I'd say sometimes maybe we are performance based, but I think one of the next steps is can we teach our teams how to win? Right? We have a lot of good youth national teams, and we never get over that hurdle. Or can we teach? It's always something and this and that, and so it matters. Winning matters. It matters, and especially as you get older, can you be better in the big moments? And we've definitely found. Again, we got to the final of that, but you could have the same XG and lose 4-0. because they're just ruthless in their moments, and but something like that is invaluable for our teams to experience and our players to experience. It's also, we're, again, in the infancy stages of this sport even being introduced. It's still the fourth, fifth. So whereas Brazil, and so it's not a sport, it's life, it's culture, it's DNA. And so I've always said this, again, I've been here 25 years, and some of the players I've coached have been coaches for me and have children, and it takes that generational change for that household to become a football household. And then it becomes, you know what I mean? Are they watching it more? Is that on the TV more than another sport? So it just takes time. It just takes time. And again, we can't be naive enough to think that we're, because of the same size, and because I think if that's the case, then I think they did is it India, or is it like they'd be the best in sports in the whole world, or is it China? They'd be the best at every sport. It's just not a numbers game. It's how many people's participating. Is it part of their everyday life? Is it does it matter as much for them, or is it just something we're playing? Is it something we're participating in? And that's the majority of people in this country right now. You're just participating in a sport versus I'm trying to become a professional because I need it. My family needs it, and I'm going to knock everybody out of my way to take that next step. And it's just culturally different, and we can't change it.
How could you explain like Croatia or Denmark or Iceland or Norway right now, for that matter? Just these very small population, but in percentages, we're talking just producing world class talent like a factory.
And it's coaches. So I'm from Ireland. I heard a stat was let's pretend it was 10 full-time staff coaching academies in Ireland, and Croatia had 80. And we're the same size. Wow. So that's what they've invested in: full-time coaches, development, facilities. And so it just changes, right? Alan's dad was a Premier League player, right? Yeah. So there's that as well. So it's just, there's different variables with it, but there's reasons for sure. And it comes back to people, investment in people, working with, the contact hours is massive. So like our 18s have gone from 4 sessions a week to 7 because we train in the morning, we do the school. So that's more contact time, more details. We control what they eat. But we're just getting started, and we're the infancy stages. Europe has been doing this for decades. Yeah. Other countries, continents have been doing this for decades. And so we're really improving, but we're just scratching the surface still. But again, it's only going to get better. It's going to be more investment. It's only going to be more subject matter experts, and again, working with these elite academies is critical to that, because the better job that they're doing because of the number of players, then everybody's going to benefit from it.
We had Pat Okama on, who you probably know, when he was the DC United Academy director.
Yep.
And he talked about how when they would take teams overseas, U13, U14, U15, they're competing. Or teams come over for the GA from South America, from Europe for the GA Cup, they're competing. But when you get to U16, U18, he said that's where things were starting to break down a little bit, and you could see the gap in the quality. And he attributed it mostly to culture. And you were just alluding to it, where football is life, right? And these kids, like the amount of hours that they watch the game, study the game, their local team, the bigger team, whether if you're in Spain. So the example he used was like you watch your local team in Malaga, you watch Malaga play, then you watch Real Madrid play later in the evening, and then in between you're outside playing in the parks or playing in the streets or whatever it may be. He said where American kids have so many more distractions and so many other sports that they're involved with, that those hours start to catch up to you or catch up to them. And that's what a large part of the gap was related to.
It's always an interesting one. So for me, again, having lived it, so in Ireland and UK, we finish high school at 16. So we then go on to do our profession. So if you want to go to university, you'll do 2 more years of education in your high school and you go to university. You're going to be an electrician, you'll go get your trade. My dad was a bricklayer, so you go do that. You want to be a footballer, you go and live it. You live in residency, you're eating, living, breathing it for the next 2 years to try and take that next step as a pro. So here, they're still in high school. They're still 2 years. So that's where the gap happens for me, having lived it and having seen it. And that's what we're trying to close that gap. The second team in the MLS NEXT Pro has been massive, because then a lot of clubs now are providing the school for the players, and it's just more contact time. You can do more with them, position specific, gym work, video work, and again, we're starting to do stuff that other clubs have done for decades, other countries, have done for decades. So that's one of the things that they just have more contact time, and because up till 16, their kids are still in school. They're not full-time either. They're probably training 4 times a week. I think the UK did like a release day thing to try and get more contact time on a Wednesday. And so everybody's just trying to get a bit more. And it goes back to the more we can work on it, and the more we can help the players, and there's just going to be more better players. Yeah. And so, but I don't know how many other players have, or how many clubs have what we have. I know most are trying to take that route. That's the biggest gap for me. And also the EU have a massive competitive advantage where once they're 16, they can move within the countries. So, I mean, Salzburg, for example, at 16, get Szoboszlai. They get Benji Sesko. They get all the best, Hungarian, Slovenian. Holland comes maybe slightly later, but they get, so that's the benefit they have. They can just start picking, these clubs and start picking the best players in the EU. And so they just go from being a 16, I don't want to say local, regional, maybe national team, to being like some of the best kids in Europe. Yeah. And so, and they just skyrocket, and their team gets so much better, and our teams basically stay the same.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Let's pivot a little bit to being a dad. You're a dad. You're also a director of an academy. So you're looking at it both as on the administrative professional level. So you grew up in a soccer family, and as an emotional level. When you look at the U.S. system, put Red Bulls aside, is there something that frustrates you or surprises you? Is there just something that is very kind of unique American in your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can talk about, again, the cost, right, which is significant, which you gentlemen know, right, to pay and what it is. But if you want to get these coaches need paid if they're going to be full-time and directors. So that goes along with it. What I do think, and I read an article on it maybe even yesterday, is we've become so tournament hungry. It's unbelievable. We spend so much money on going to tournaments, which is not just a tournament and it's funny. I look at it and I'm going, especially where we are, we don't need to go anywhere until, and I'm not even saying until a certain age. I'm saying until you're a certain level, you don't need to go anywhere, right? There's enough college showcases in the region. There's enough. But it's just people have become so tournament happy, and it generates a lot of revenue, obviously. But it just,
when you say people, you mean the parents, the clubs, the business behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost become the norm, I would say. And again, as they get older, and I've lived it, right? I've coached in ECNL and I've coached in other ones, and then you've got tournaments, and they're always in these beautiful places, so they're expensive to get to, and they have to go at certain times of the year, and then there's regional events. It's just nonstop. So it becomes, you're spending $20,000 a year probably as a parent to put your kid through soccer, which is, it just seems, I don't know. It just seems not sustainable for a lot of families. I think we've become just tournament happy. It seems like there's more tournaments than there are league games. And again, we talk about our region especially, we never need to get on a plane. No. We never need to get on a plane to have to find good competition. I joke with my wife, we're going to go to a tournament and we can drive 30 minutes every direction and get beat if we want. We don't need to go somewhere else and get beat. You know what I mean? So
no, it's exactly right. It's exactly right. Yeah. Are you I'm a legendary sideline coach. Probably I would say people really they come from far and near to hear my advice on the sidelines.
See the show.
Yeah, I'll invite you sometimes. But how are you on the sideline?
I'm the quietest person on every sideline I'm on. Because again, why? They have a coach. They don't need another coach. They certainly don't need 18 other coaches or 22 if both parents are talking. And again, it is fun because I haven't done it for a while. But being on the sideline is, my wife hates me for this, but I don't say anything. And some of these kids are young. So when I'm on the upper sideline, and some of it's just like comical sometimes, but I'm just when they do something great, cheer. When they do something that's not great, then can we, I don't know, maybe I just have perspective because of the level of players I'm fortunate enough to watch every day, but it's just, again, let them have fun and play and just honestly, just stop. Stop. I can see why kids don't play anymore. I was like, it's just unenjoyable. If somebody's shouting at them, I can only imagine what the car ride home is. And that's just, I mean, I'm talking and I've seen it with teams that I've coached. I've seen it with clubs that I was directors of, with Delco and other clubs and stuff like that. And you're just ruining it for your kid. Like, you honestly, and it was the biggest advice I could give. And again, I'm a parent of a soccer player who's on there, and I don't say a word, not one thing to a player. I don't say a thing to a referee, because it's not my job. I'm a parent, and I'm there to support my son. And if he plays great, great. If he doesn't play great, that's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. And so, I don't know. It's just perspective, and sometimes I feel that they're maybe trying to live through their kids a little bit. And again, this is every team we've played against, and it's, you guys know this. It's every sideline in the country.
Of course,
it's every single sideline in the country where it's everybody's an expert, and some of them haven't kicked the ball, and it's like, oh great, you're an expert now. It's a good time to pick it up. All done.
How I'm curious, how does your son engage with you after a match, before a match?
I'm dad. Again, it's funny, and I tell him all the time, his buddies, because we tried him in baseball, and he loves flag football. He thinks he's the best in the world, and that's great. So he does other stuff, and it's like, I do this for a living, and that's great, but it doesn't mean you have to do it. But we love watching you play, and whatever level it is, you want to play closer to home, no problem, great. And we need to drive you there, no problem, great. But it's and like, so the games are videoed, right? And my wife's like, you should watch. You're gonna kill me, by the way. You should watch the videos with him. I'm going, and we're watching the video. He doesn't want to watch the video. I can see he doesn't want to watch the video. So no, I don't want to watch the video. And I'm going like this. No, so I don't. Like, no,
torture.
It's genuinely, and I'm like, why are we reliving something? You forgot about it the time that the whistle went. And so I think we just tend to do stuff. And it's funny now because there's about 10 cameras on the sidelines. Everybody's got their own camera these days, I think. And it's genuinely, I got to giggle at that. And I know people like to do it, but again, for me, it's like, if the kid wants to do it and the kid wants to watch it, then he'll watch it. If the kid wants to go out and kick a ball on his days he's not training, he'll go and do it. If he asks me to come play with him, no problem. A couple of times, like, we try to train do a little bit, and as soon as I said one thing that sounded like coaching, one thing, it was. So we ended up playing crossbar. We'll hit crossbar and we'll have a run around, and so I've just learned that. And if he gets older and he wants to do it a bit more, and he gets more mature and he asks something, no problem. I'll help you. I'll give you my, just what I've experienced, what I've seen, but genuinely, and again, playing, have fun with him. And if he wants to ask me something on it, but I'll give him little things where, buddy, do you want to be a good player? Don't give the ball away a lot. If you give the ball away a lot, you probably haven't played well. And again, I'll keep going back to that, because that involves everything. It involves touch. It involves scanning. It involves everything. So, yeah, just give yourself. You think you played well there? I mean, there's times that I think I played great today, and you're going, oh, you really didn't. But who? Will you tell me didn't? Yeah, I thought you were great too.
Let's do some of the parents' questions. Do you want to do a couple?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem.
Okay, because me and my big mouth, I've told some that you will be a guest in my living room tonight. So we got a bunch of questions, and Matt and I try to filter them out a little bit. I'm going to read it word for word. Parents ask, why Red Bulls do not keep one organic team together and allow them to develop as a unit? There is constant movements across age groups. Why prioritize individual progression so strongly? Does this movement interrupt team chemistry or collective development?
It's a good question. So we simultaneously develop the players we have in our academy whilst always looking for better players. That's just our job. Our job is to bring the best players in, and we love continuity. We love keeping players, and there's been lots of good examples of players who have come through a lot of the age groups, but there's also been a lot of good examples of the players that come at 15 and 16 and 17, so for various reasons. So we have to be open to both. We do use this, individuals make debuts, teams don't. Our job is to not develop great teams. Our job is to develop individuals who can play at the stadium, the Sports Illustrated Stadium. So, and hopefully one day, like Tyler Adams, play at Red Bull Arena in Leipzig and captain his country. So that is, again, that's our purpose. We've clarity on that. And we understand that there's players that were there and move out that are not going to be happy about it. That's okay. We don't get it right all the time. We're not saying we do. But we always have to be true to our everyday training environment, which means best with best. And we'll always look to improve squads. Some squads need a couple of jigsaw puzzles to complete it. Sometimes they need an overhaul. That's just the nature of the business, and we'll continue to do that.
All right, my question. Thanks for the softball question here, Laurent. a bold but common one, apparently, according to Laurent's three friends. Some of the strongest players in the region have passed through your pre-academy or academy and then left to come back and compete against Red Bull. How do talented players slip through the cracks? What do you attribute that to?
I'll start by saying we don't get it right all the time. We're not naive enough or arrogant enough to think we do get it wrong. We try and make the best decision at that time based on the information, but we're also very aware that players develop at different stages. They might not have been the best player at 10 or 11 or 12 when we released them. They might not have been. It's our job to try and horizon scan and see what they're going to be, but that's really, really, really difficult. And there's been loads of occasions where players have played against us and been fantastic. And guess what? We don't go, oh no, we go brilliant. We go fantastic. You know what that means? It was the right move. And the players thrived, and now he's in that environment and he's doing great, and we have to celebrate. That's brilliant. And then maybe there's 100% players we brought back in or even tried to bring back in that we're like, no, you didn't want me then. You don't. Okay, no problem. No problem. But that's youth development. And again, we're professional players. Paul Pogba was let go at 16 and United bought him for 100 million. It happens all the time. It happens all the time everywhere. So we're not, you know what I mean? We're not, but when players develop at different stages, cognitively, decision-making wise, and sometimes they just need to be the big man on campus and be that type of player, and that brings the best out in them versus one of many. And there's various reasons for that, but that will continue to happen. It's not slipping through the cracks and falling through the cracks. It will happen for various reasons because it happens everywhere in the world in every academy.
Okay, one more. So this one, another one. Also, Red Bulls is a global club with large resources. Many parents ask why we don't see more former professional players as coaches in the academy, as is more common across Europe and academies. Is this a philosophy choice, licensing, structural, or just a decision to have American coaches?
It's a really good question. We had a meeting yesterday with MLS, which is about player engagement and players coming through. So we have former players working within the club. Our sporting director, Julian de Guzman, is a former professional player in Europe with Canada and captained Canada and played in Toronto. Obviously, Michael Bradley is a former player in our second team. Our head of pro pathway, Tiger Fitzpatrick, is a former player in the league. Our under-14 coach, London Woodbury, is a former player in the league. So it's really advantageous for us to try and bring former professionals into our environment because they've been in the arena, they've felt it, they've smelt it, they've gone through the highs, lows, and the different experiences that these young players are going through. So, and it's not just in those coaching areas, it could be in an executive area, it could potentially be scouting, analyst, athletic trainer, whatever it may be. I think the league are really doing a good job of trying to get more pros prepared for what's after when you're done, when you're playing. But if you look at the first team level, Jesse Marsh was a former player, right? And he coached the Red Bull and then went to Europe.
Of course. The
first team, and there's a lot of, I think we all understand at the first team level, but I think even at the second team level now, they're trying to get as many former pros into those second teams to learn their trade a bit more, obviously. And again, for us, you talk about somebody like Michael Bradley that's come in and been unbelievable from day one, and he's the son of a coach. That helps. Again, when we talk about experience and your background and your lived experiences and what environment you're in every day. So, and of course, that it doesn't get more successful than winning a championship with a young team and kind of implementing the style of play that he did was exceptional. And another example of why we need more of those players coming into the game. But some of them don't want to. They don't want to coach. They go into TV or they go into different things. So no problem. But I think to the question, it's really, really important we continue to do that and try and find more.
I'm really excited for Michael Bradley to see about his coaching career. One of my favorite U.S. men's national team players.
Yeah, and then fortunate enough to obviously get to kind of, talk to him. And the most impressive thing, given all his career and everything he's done, is just how humble the guy is and what a great human being, which is, given what he's done, says a lot about the person.
Yeah, and his family, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the last one from parents, is about your residency program. And again, there were just dozens, and we'll do it. And again, hopefully we haven't embarrassed you too much. So if the academy builds a residency or dorm model, does that reduce the opportunity for local kids? Does it tilt the system towards out-of-state players who can take advantage of housing and schooling? or how do you balance that identity in the area?
Yeah, so in my previous job at Barca Academy, it was a massive residency. It's where Real Salt Lake used to have their academy. And then when they built the facilities in Utah, they went there, and there was different levels of teams. There's probably 150 residents, and they all came from all over the country. But in our new facility initially was going to be some dorms and things, but I alluded to it earlier. We're just such a strong player pool locally, and the ones that have come through are local boys. If you look at all the boys that have come through, most of the majority of them are local boys. So we have a homestay program, which is families that we have 8 players currently in it. So our approach is adding little final pieces of the jigsaw versus building one, you know what I mean, from scratch and just going everywhere. We're just fortunate. Other parts of the country probably need to have a more comprehensive residency program just because maybe the player pool locally isn't as strong. Population density, diversity, whatever it may be. I say it all the time. We're just so lucky and so fortunate that we have just so many good players, and we're always going to have that. It's going to be more and more. So we have a different approach. We want players from New York, New Jersey. I mean, obviously you get players from, even Pennsylvania, Connecticut that can get there. So we want them coming through. And if you look at the history of Red Bulls, of those young players coming through from, again, Tyler, Matt, Sean Davis, Alex Mule, Connor Lade. I mean, the list just keeps going. So these are all local boys. It just matters more. It just means more.
Yeah.
They just, and if, I would like to think that the fan base would feel that way as well. It's one of them. You know what I mean?
It's important,
and so,
for sure.
But it's important. But at the same time, when I took the job at Red Bull, one of the first things I did was tell my sporting director, we need to bring in Caden Clark from Barca Academy, who's in Minnesota. And luckily that turned out well. So,
exactly.
And he did fantastic there. And so you still need those pieces, is my point. And you can't ignore the other players in the other areas. It'd be just negligent of us, but we would never take that away from our local players. They're the ones we focus on the most, and they're 99% of our player pool.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing it. I think we're seeing, or at least we're hearing, that a lot of the clubs, whether it be Columbus, Orlando, Austin, but where they're pulling kids out of the Northeast region because of the depth of talent, the quality of talent, because they can, and because players want opportunities and they may not have it in this region because of how competitive it is, or they haven't been identified yet. Yeah.
It's been one of the best evolutions of the kind of protection rights and all this, is that more players can now have more opportunities, and that's what it's all about. And so we do have just depths, and there's us, Philly, NYCFC, but there's still really, really, really good players that could become pros and will become pros that have not come through our clubs for various reasons. So it is great, and there's a large number of players from our region that are at other academies across the country. And again, that has to be celebrated. That's success.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's the great work that elite academies are doing. And so, again, and I think it's only going to go one direction. There's just going to be more and more.
Sean,
Good, yeah.
what a pleasure. This has been incredibly informative, important. I know there's going to be a giant follow-up to this in a few months from us, and I will knock on your door one more time. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Honestly, my pleasure. And again, we appreciate your guys' continued support of the club. And listen, we're not perfect. We don't pretend to be, but we think we're doing a good job, and we're only going to try and get better. And more local boys becoming pros is what we're trying to do, and that involves elite clubs and everybody around us. I think we have a mentality of we're all in this together versus against each other. I think we'll get there quicker.
Yeah, and as established, if you need someone with a professional eye to spot who's going to be a pro or not, you can reach me now. So don't be a stranger. Yeah,
the good news is he's free.
I got a lot of time on my hands, as you can see. Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
Thank you, Sean. That was a clear slap in the face helpful. I'm not going to be an academy director.
We got something really unique from an academy director. It was a framework, much more than it was a pitch.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the grind now as we speak, here's the takeaway. Stop chasing the perfect label. Chase the right fit, the right environment. It's hard to recognize. And the place where your kid is actually developing and actually playing.
Yeah, Sean said something that was not surprising, but hearing him say it, I think just reinforced the fact. The best 13-year-old is rarely the best 17-year-old. And that is not just perspective. that changes how you read early success.
Yeah, I mean, and here's one that was a good kick in the gut for me. A good thing I got a big one is that you got to be an expert in patience. The system pushes me to rush, overreact every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Laurent, much like you and life in general, development is not linear, my friend. And it is not a straight line up.
If this episode helped you, send it to a parent who needs it. I know there's many of them. So share it with your team chat, your newsletter, whatever you can do to spread the word around.
And please subscribe to Chasing the Game, Youth Soccer in America, wherever you listen and on YouTube.
We'll see you next time. Bye, Matt.
Bye, Laurent.